Okay, we're good.
Warming up. Test mic. Test. Okay, that's moving. This is a recorded live stream. If you were watching this at a later point in time, then you are watching the recording. Feel free to jump forward to the start of the show or just watch us ramble as we manually reshare our link.
Yeah,
We do not edit the show.
it saves us time. None of this editing nonsense.
Okay, feed is running on YouTube.
Yeah, Mondays are for board games.
We're sharing now.
Oops, my mouse is being funny. I still can't tag you and things. It's so funny.
Don't know why. I really don't know why.
Untaggable because you are already tag sessions. I don't know. You can't tag.
They're very pale, very bright.
Sorry, let me just get through my sharing also, then I'll get you the screen back.
Sending now to the mailing list. Probably one of the 5 people in the entire world who still uses the term mailing list.
We old that way. Oh my gosh, in the company gather town, my sister gave me and set me up with an old computer. So it's literally this fat like it looks like an Apple era type thing.
Uh-huh.
You know, full on monitor, keyboard, big CPU. I know it's just a virtual thing, but it's just funny. It's like, and then I haven't bothered to change it, so that's fine. It's all fine. That's fine.
Okay, link sent out. We should be starting in a bit. Hey Jay, Jay's joining us on YouTube.
Once again, we're wearing our "God Save the Queen" shirts by Pride Studios. If you want to support your favorite drag queens who have shirts with them, then go buy a shirt. This is not a sponsor post. We just support. So this is for Turing. Yay! Turing. Go Turing. Woohoo!
And then yes, our bar is open again.
Yes.
It's been nice to have our second home opening.
Except that we can only go with even numbered groups.
Well, we can go with odd numbered groups if we're willing to just
Shell out money, which I'm kind of still like we could do.
same, but I want to be smart
Yes, we should try to be. So
because I'm not even sure how to put it. In the times we didn't spend that much, and it's just the two of us, it allows us to tip more.
that's true.
So I kind of want to have that balance.
Oof, but then I'm like unlock the dangerous world of
Gcash.
tipping. It's like, do I have your Gcash number?
Okay. We should have a.
We'll do the thing. Okay. Oh, it's math enough to survive. Oh wait. Let's change the. I'll get rid of this. Okay, and then
You can put the episode number. It's fine.
no, but you put text over it
Yeah.
anyway.
It's okay. It helps guide me what episode number to put.
Okay.
So what's our?
I don't know. Okay, that's enough.
Okay.
Thumbnailing. All right, so we could probably start.
Yeah.
I'll just roll credits. So let me clear that out. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah! Really great!
This is Toby.
And this is Rocky.
And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy, our little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
It's completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random
And
live.
if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. Every Monday, we talk about different games, and today is no exception. As you can see, we're talking about Talisman Kingdom Hearts.
Which was like, what? Of all the games for to license Kingdom Hearts, Talisman? Really? And yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Wow, I'm looking at the YouTube feed. It seems super delayed. Okay.
I know there's a lot to unpack with this game, literally, and about the game itself.
Yeah, so let's talk about first the fact that this is a re-implementation of another board game called Talisman.
Mhm.
Toby, how did you first encounter Talisman?
I think it was the app.
It was the app,
I
I'm
think it was
sure.
the app the first time I encountered it. But to be honest, I may have
You have
bumped
vague
into
memories?
the board game
Okay.
and not really known it was called Talisman.
Mm,
But Talisman, the board game, was first released in 1983.
very old game.
Designed by Robert Harris, Talisman has you pick a hero, roll through three levels of danger, battles, and treasures as you move through a map that's designed to have an outer, a middle, and an inner area.
The original Talisman definitely like has the hallmarks of a lot of board games of the older generation,
Mhm.
which means movement is determined by rolling dice. You must move exactly based
Mhm.
on those dice rolls, and thus the game becomes very long
Mhm.
because you basically keep going back and forth until you're ready to get to the middle and defeat whatever.
Cards would be used to determine the encounters that you meet as you travel along the map. Specific spots in the map can trigger certain things. Some portions of the map might have you drawing two encounters, others might draw one. Others might have pre written things that happen in that location.
Yeah, those corner tiles are always
Mhm.
like roll a die and then see what happens based on a table.
Players get to choose from a varied selection of character types. At the base fantasy game, you have your typical warriors, dwarves, magic users, druids, and the like. Um, in the many editions that have come since Talisman is currently at its revised fourth edition, the game has had an expanded list of characters, has had expansions to the board game itself, as well as expanded different cards, everything from new gear, new magical items and spells, and in some cases, card specific expansions for specific things.
Now note, Toby did say he first started playing this on his iPad, which meant it's quite a long game to play on your iPad
Mhm.
because you keep rolling, hoping for stuff to happen. The dice rolling element of core Talisman feels a lot like playing Sorry, you know. And for those unfamiliar with the Parkersburg game, well, at least published by Parkersburg game, um, to get to the end of Sorry, you need to roll exactly the right amount to land on the
Mhm.
final home space. Thus, you have a lot of in and out, because if you don't hit exact, you move backward. So while Talisman is not quite as brutal in that aspect, but there is a lot of like, okay, I'm on the outer ring. To get to the inner ring, I have to cross at a certain point. So I need to roll to land
Mhm.
there, and then you may end up going because you can go in any direction, clockwise
Mhm.
or anti-clockwise, and you'll just keep circling the drain until you get to where you need to go.
Mhm.
So, but that's the core Talisman. But then, despite this, Toby played a lot of it, and then so I didn't know how to feel when they announced, "Hey, Kingdom Hearts Talisman tie-up," because it's like, how does Kingdom Hearts connect to Talisman? Because Talisman was always like this long journey and then
Mhm.
defeating a monster. But I guess it kind of made sense when you just put it on that level. And Mitch is here too, and Jay has moved to Facebook. Hello, hello.
Let's rotate it so people can see a little bit of a glimpse of what to expect in this board game.
So what initially drove us to get this game is look at this. All this stuff. It comes with a big board, it comes with models, minis, it comes with interesting character art cards. It's a lot of stuff. So they definitely didn't scrimp on the design side. And then I know initially I was thinking that, well, that's it. We're gonna own this game because it's pretty.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, we have a few games like that that don't get as much play as others, but we just like them. But this turned out to be not so bad. So first, the board, which is the most dangerous board type of all kind, the six-fold, the six-panel trifold, whatever. Because you're always trying to remember how to unfold it. Okay, ready, boom.
So as you can see, Talisman has a huge board.
It does require a lot of table real estate when you do get to play it.
The goal of the game, and I think we'll have to rotate it just so we can see the goal better.
Okay.
Ah,
Up,
there,
up.
I got it.
See, it's a
There.
door because you want to get to the door.
Yeah, the goal of the game is to reach the door to darkness.
Door to
Which,
darkness.
just like the first Kingdom Hearts game, is the door where King Mickey has been waiting for you. But to get to that place, you must reach this inner area. And to get to this inner area, you must accomplish something in this middle area. And the only way to get to that middle area is to be able to go through the corridors of darkness, which are in the certain portions of the outer map. So a large part of the game at the start has you moving back and forth in the outermost map.
So it's still Talisman.
Until you accumulate enough levels, enough magic, enough artifacts, enough companions that you can face the other challenges and move further in. The map is very colorful, very pretty. It cites a lot of locations that are present in the game. You have the Keyblade Graveyard, you have Neverland,
Atlantica.
Atlantica, the Deep Jungle, Destiny Islands. They're all here in their own way. They're illustrated nicely, and despite the fact that the game has its own art, it's done pretty well.
Okay. The manual is surprisingly thick. There's a lot to cover. The manual is about 16 pages, which is long. Oh, Nigel is here. He's asking, is this the one with the playable Mulan? We'll get to that. Um, then it's so funny because the game comes with, okay. As part of the other punch outs, there are all these charm things that don't. They're not essential for playing the game, but they're really cute. Okay. Uh,
So a large draw of the game. Oh, they're not visible. We'll have to move it back. Okay.
So yeah, to answer that question, hey, look, yes, it's not evident in the way I'm holding it, but this is Mulan. Okay.
Beautifully crafted. There's just enough amounts of detail. If you're the type who loves painting minis, these are fab. We don't like painting minis, so we're very happy with them the way they are.
We wouldn't mind commissioning someone to paint them for us. We're just not the painting people.
I'll increase
Okay.
this one by height
Okay.
because we now want to show the board.
All right. Ooh.
There you go.
Very complicated setup. Yay. All right. So there are, gosh, how many characters? 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There are 10 playable characters in the game, which are
11. There are 11.
okay, which are represented that each of them get a unique character card, which is very beautiful and it presents it with like similar depictions from the game. So it's like Disney characters like Mulan, Donald, Goofy, of course. But then of course you have your core Kingdom Hearts characters like Sora. Um, King Mickey is here, and then just gonna pull up stuff. Riku, Kairi are here. But then, oops, sorry, Heartless are flying around as they are wont to do.
Mhm.
But then it also kind of digs deeper, and this is like their characters I am not super familiar with because it's deeper from stuff in. So you have people like Terra. Um, you have Scion, obviously Organize 13. You have Aqua. I don't know Aqua. Uh, Ventus. Okay, and the like. So there's a lot of characters.
Mitch mentions, mas malaki pa yung board kaysa dun sa game na may dungeon, gold, and you need to go back above the ground to win. That would be Clank. And you actually no, I think it's the same size, the clank board and this
No,
board.
Clank is still a 4 panel. This is
Okay.
a 6. This is a
Okay.
6 panel one.
And
She
then
on. Thank you, Jay.
so Jay mentions the cards even look like the ones from Chain of Memories. Well, they kind of did want to capture the feels. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. See? And then even the front. Look at that. You can't read the text, but you can see how the symbols and markings are there.
So one nice thing about Talisman Kingdom Hearts versus base Talisman is that okay, they went crazy on ways
Mm-hmm.
to upgrade your character.
Mm-hmm.
In the core Talisman, you do also get to purchase stuff, but I felt like the rate of progression is so much better here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really scales. And to best track your progress in your different attributes, you have these little spinny things that you get to assemble at the beginning, which will represent your ratings, of course, in classic stats like strength, magic, and health, with their corresponding like colors a la your meters in Kingdom
Mm-hmm.
Hearts and the characters that they usually be. Thus, depending on which character you're playing, you will have a starting rating at the bottom. That's the colored text there. So, for example, Goofy has a strength of 2, a magic of 3, but a health of 4 because he's that blocking character, and a luck or fate element of 3.
Now, the three stats are important in a talisman game. Strength is used for any fights with physical combatants. In old talisman games, strength usually is what's used to fight against dragons, against trolls, against giants. You have magic, and the magic stat tends to be used for more mystical combat, or sometimes it's simply used to represent that you're fighting in a more tactical way.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, you have your health. And your health, of course, if you are ever depleted to the point that you run out of life in a talisman game, you die, you lose practically everything you have, and you have to now start back at a certain area, resetting what you have. You can go back to where you died to pick things up. In Kingdom Hearts, however, they tried to change the approach wherein there is also some loss of items and the like.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess they kind of wanted to not exactly feel like death was happening.
Yeah. So like in this game, when a character is defeated, you remove the character card and playing pieces from the game. Place any objects, including magic objects, money, MUNNY, and followers to one side. Return spells, trophies, fate tokens to the appropriate discard piles. Then on the next player's turn, they start with a new character drawn at random
Mm.
from the unused character stuff. But you go through the same basic character creation steps, which
Mm-mm.
still sets you up with basic stats. And then objects, money, and followers that were put to one side are inherited by the new character. They don't have to go around the board to find them.
Speaking of money,
So it helps.
yay. They
Yeah, so
have
they
nice
use
little.
little gem things.
It's not visible. There. But
Okay.
it's so satisfying to have these tokens and to spend them. The game comes with a ton of cardboard tokens, as mentioned. You had earlier those there.
These are just to match like because when you have pending encounters and you don't have space on the inner circles,
Mm-mm.
then you would use these to mark.
To remind you of what card connects to what location.
Yeah, they're pairs of them
Mm-hmm.
for
They're
stuff.
basically
They're
note
just notes.
takers.
Yeah, they're just notes. So
And then
we were able to get away without doing it with the first few games we played.
star fruit.
Okay. Now, funnily, for your convenience, the back of the manual, I'm sorry, and it's not super evident, has a flow chart of how the game goes, which tells you of sort of the ancient bones of this game,
Yes.
that it is that complex. But every basic sequence is that first you have an opportunity to use spells that can take place before moving.
Ah,
Then you move.
wrong button.
Then, are there characters in the space?
Mm.
If there are, you can encounter one of them or not. If you do, you can encounter and trade stuff while you're
Mm.
together. If you don't, you're going to encounter the space. If you're going to encounter the space, is this a draw a card space in terms of like potential threats? If it is, draw the number of cards specified and resolve. If there isn't, are there face-up cards in the space? Because sometimes spaces get left with cards there.
Mm.
If you do encounter that card. If no, look at the space. Does it have instructions?
So let's say you were asked to draw a card. The card we drew is Brave Warrior. And Brave Warrior states, while you have Brave Warrior, add 1 to your combat strength for the duration of any combat in which you use it. Add 3 to your strength against Invisible Heartless if you use it. Alternately, you might have drawn instead um, Perdita and Pogo. Basically,
They're helpful.
you were able to find a summon. Sorry, an ally, not a summon. And here it says, return a Dalmatian puppy here for 1 money. Um, you have, of course, cards that just give you money. So it says here money. And then you also have the occasional cards that are encounters. In this case, you are fighting against one of the dark side Heartless. If the opponent is not defeated, they stay in the space. Therefore, anyone else can go to that space to try to fight it. Um, some spaces give you followers, such as here you have Mushu. Mushu's flying.
New fan, guys.
Mushu
Okay.
was flying. For here we have Chip and Dale. And more references to the game. So many that sometimes the joy is just drawing the card and going, oh my gosh, I know that.
I mean, it's one thing to get Perdita and Pongo. It's another to get Dalmatians
Mm.
and then bring them back to Perdita and Pongo.
Now, as mentioned, the game uses dice rolls in order to resolve things. So the game comes with dice, and yes, it has this Kingdom Hearts symbol on it.
And then if you're wondering, it's the kind of custom dice where the 1 has been replaced by the crown and the 6 is untouched. Though it is a little frustrating that we can never quite decide as an industry which symbol gets replaced. But I know it's also because it ties to the game
Mhm.
and like how things work out. In this case though, rolling a 1 is kind of not a not great roll.
Mhm.
So I don't know why it is the crown. I wished it was the 6.
Now we have a red deck of cards which represents magic. And this has everything from spells, such as Sliding Dash or Reflect, to artifacts or objects, such as the Dream Sword or. Oh no, sorry, these are the basic starts. Yeah, sorry, I should separate these.
Mm-hmm.
At the start of the game, there are basic items that characters tend to start with.
Or that you can purchase.
So
Yeah.
that includes the Dream Sword, the Dream Shield, the Inferno Band, the Protect Chain, the ribbons. But then um, a large part of the game is finding the Keyblades because you need them to eventually finish the game.
You need the Keyblade to, get to the Door of Darkness and seal it away.
So we have the Olympia, we have Oblivion,
And this corresponds to
Divine
Talisman,
Rose,
right? The Talisman had like that final artifact thing that
Oath
you need to bring
Keeper.
to the end.
Yeah, Pumpkinhead, Three Wishes, and I'll tell you, despite the Keyblades being just a cosmetic device that is required to end the game,
It has no other function except helping you end the game.
as players, you can't help but feel envious when someone gets the Keyblade you wanted.
Mm, mm. Luck of the draw. Okay, so um, so obviously the design of this is kind of bonkers. So if you love Kingdom Hearts, I would strongly state in no uncertain terms that this is a game you definitely have to consider getting. I
Mhm.
mean, the minis alone are incredibly detailed. And again, if we were the type to paint, totally gonna paint because uh, it makes the world.
Mhm.
Okay, that's one. And then totally didn't scrimp on the card art either. The All the cards are beautifully done.
Despite the card art not matching the game
One hundred
specifically,
percent. Yeah, they're not like polygon renders from the
the
show.
visual style, the layout of the cards, the little detailing on how they try to describe things, all still kind of works out. And while while there is something to say about some of the card layout in terms of graphic design, like
Mhm.
some numbers could have been bigger.
They're sometimes a little hard to read.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily figure it out at first glance. But the adherence to the Kingdom Heart aesthetic
Mhm.
across the board totally nice.
And it still makes you feel like there was much love in the
Mm-hmm.
design of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not like certain other franchises that got a game that have artwork that looks like it's from a horror show, despite the show being science fiction.
Firefly, legendary encounters. Firefly.
We really have to stop attacking that because I know there are some Filipino artists who contributed.
It doesn't matter. It's worse now that we own Firefly the board game because that used TV stills,
That was really well
and
done.
that was really well done.
That was very well done.
Okay, so there's that. And then in terms of gameplay, I forget from the cover. How long do they rate the game now for this one?
Here,
Oh, they now so if the original Talisman all the way up to the revised fourth edition on Board Game Geek is rated as being a 90-minute game.
oh, it doesn't say anything.
Oh,
It's accepted the fact that it's scary to state how long it lasts.
but in Board Game Geek for this game, it now states bum 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 60 to 90 minutes.
Mhm.
So it can play a little shorter. And I'll admit, um, it's not that bad. It's
Mhm.
not that it really depends on how much you push your luck and how quickly you decide to go against the door to darkness. That will determine your pacing throughout the game. Toby and I in our playthrough, we were a little conservative at the beginning, but it's sort of like Munchkin, where you reach this point where you look across the table, you see how well your
Mhm.
opponent is now dealing with challenges,
Mhm.
and then you're like, oh crap, it's on. We have to run. We have to get to the middle.
Now the game is really still based on an old school engine. So for people who want games that feel like it's a very well oiled machine, you can play 5 rounds and it's done. This is not the game for you. If you want that sort of a feeling, please look at all the other games. But this game fills the same itch as people who like playing games we're in. Let's see what happens. Let's see how it'll go around. You'll hate the dice rolls you'll make. You'll celebrate when they go well. Interestingly, this is not the only franchise that has had a Talisman reimplementation.
Yes,
Batman has one as well.
I didn't quite get that too.
And while Batman is around 3,800 as far as pricing in Lazada, Kingdom Hearts, the price ranges depending on where you look. Some places have it really low because it's not selling as quickly, but some places have it really expensive because they think it's a collector's edition. And I think it's a collector's edition. So grab it before it gets too pricey.
Mhm. I mean, the box. Funny, it's on the screen. The box does stress it has over 250 game components, and it
Mhm.
does. And I mean, don't you want to be King Mickey? So
Amazon rates the game at around $50, $60 if you purchase it. Um, some sites I've seen go as high as 7,000 because I guess they're seeing it as super rare. So consider how much you want to get it. We chanced upon a chance to get it,
it was unopened again.
and yeah, and I just dove in and bought it before someone else snatched it.
And this was before like we were fully committed to like, are we really gonna play this game?
Mhm.
So I guess things to warn you about. So again, we've already talked about the sort of uh, fiddlier core game nature of this. It is still based on Talisman. Number two, space. Oh my god, this game needs a lot of space. It's one thing to have a giant board,
Mhm.
but then you will have your respective character cards, and with your character cards, you're going to build a tableau of followers, items, magical spells, and the like. And so then you're going to have this sprawl of cards in front of you that, while it doesn't get as crazy as things like terraforming Mars, it's quite significant. And considering how much table space you've already lost to the
Mhm.
base game, to the board, you will kind of struggle because you also need space for your little dial that tells you how much strength, magic, and health you have. These are minor complaints, but they are practical considerations to
Mhm.
keep in mind. I know there are some people who only play on tables that are the equivalent of like fast food tables, and yeah, that's not gonna cut it here. You need a decent amount of space.
Now, let's talk about one of the bad things. In the deck, there are cards known as Trinity Jumps. They're meant to emulate how in the game multiple characters can work in concert to do amazing things. They don't work the way the game has designed it. In this game, when the card that has Trinity Jump is mentioned, there are conditions. In this case, for example, if three characters are on this space at once, the Trinity Jump is activated and gives each character +1 strength or +1 magic of their choice. So they're like a free level up. But consider that you are talking about three characters. Consider these three players who control these characters can only move depending on their dice roll.
And depending on which ring you're in,
And
it
mind you,
changes
it's not I rolled a 6 and I can move up to 6 steps. It's I have to move 6 steps.
in one direction.
So getting these cards to work are very unlikely, are super rare. Worse, players can't choose to stay put. So just because someone is already at that spot, you can't like wait, oh you guys come here and join me and let's activate it. It has to be some amazing moment of three of you at some place, or maybe two are already there, and when the third lands at that moment, that card is revealed. It,
Obviously, in a two-player game, they're even crappier. Actually, but they become a little better because the game lets you get away with just the two of you.
I think we just house ruled that.
Yeah, fudge it, but
I think we just house ruled that.
it's difficult.
There
It's
were
so
there were no
difficult.
official manual rules on how to handle Trinity Jump.
Trinity
Um,
spaces.
Online, most state that the game works best with 5 or 6 players. I think that's because that increases the chances of people being in the same spot. There are rules as well on handling things if you are both in the same location. Um, but in the end, despite the game having all its rough edges, it's not a bad game to have, especially if you really like Kingdom Hearts. Jay mentioned earlier that there's a lot of it that looks like the Chain of Memories cards. I wouldn't be surprised if that was part of the intention in terms of the graphic design. But at the same time, it's probably also the obvious choice in how to design the cards when you have giant crowns as a symbol on cards.
Yeah. So, Kingdom Heart, Talisman Kingdom Hearts sort of feels like the jump between Tsuro and Tsuro of the Seas.
Mhm.
Tsuro on itself is a good game. It's a pretty good game with an interesting amount of strategy. But Tsuro of the Seas added more elements to it that help kind of speed it along and give more variety. And then while it's not quite exactly the same, um, oops, I flipped it the wrong way. Uh, Talisman Kingdom Hearts does make for a very improved Talisman experience. I don't necessarily think it's the most polished Kingdom Hearts experience that they could have come
Mhm.
up with, but it's still a pretty decent game. And then the all the enhancements, all the additions of the items and the like, the changes of the spaces, actually make the game flow pretty well.
Mhm.
You will still feel that pain of if your character dies or is knocked out, um, it is hard to recover. The more generous inheritance rules in this game do make do give you a bit more of a leg up on your path to recovery,
Mhm.
but it which is still like a brutal aspect of even the original Talisman. Getting through it is hard. So you'll need some patience for it if you're playing with young children because this game is targeted to a younger market to some degree.
Mhm.
Um, that's painful, and then I don't know if you how you want to handle it.
Yeah, some people have the house rule wherein you could roll the dice or you could take 1 step. And that sort of allows you to have a bit more control in your movement.
Mm,
Others have even gone as far as there's a little bit of money that's given out just to try to speed things along. Ultimately, it's again a game that is coming from an older design approach, wherein it's the joy of finding out how lucky you'll roll, it's seeing which one you'll go to and deciding where you'll go, which still makes it a world of fun more than games like Snakes and Ladders, wherein you're literally just a dice roller and whatever happens is what the board wants. Here, you get to choose, and those choices do matter. Sometimes it's a choice of going somewhere which others are desperately trying to get to. Or it might be going somewhere because you need exactly that spot, or you want exactly to try to trigger something there. There are spots where you might trigger increases in stats, spots where you are allowed to recover luck points, spots where you're allowed to move deeper into the map. And interestingly, this game was designed to the point that just because you can rush in doesn't mean you should.
Hmm.
Because typically, when you do rush in, things get tougher.
So, I guess we can go to quick notes on strategy. If you can have strategy for a game like this, what
Before
would you
that, I
say?
have one last bad thing.
Oh. Okay.
I hate the fact that Keyblades don't do anything.
Yeah, we
It's
did say earlier it is a delight to argue over which keyblade you
yes.
get, but they also do not do
In
anything.
in Talisman, it was some sort of artifact that you were building, and by building this artifact, you can go to the center of the thing and defeat it. So it's fine. It makes sense in a fictional standpoint. But this is Kingdom Hearts. And if you make those artifacts keyblades, we all know the keyblades are cool. We all know that they give you these awesome
And
moments.
it's like the specific keyblades coded to the different
Yeah.
worlds in the original games.
So
So,
you kind of wish that they still added that aspect in the game somehow. Like maybe the keyblades themselves don't do anything but give you the chance to reach the end. But maybe if you're in the specific zones that match the keyblade,
mm.
you have the pumpkin keyblade and you're in the Halloween town, then maybe that could have been giving you certain bonuses because that would have made them feel more meaningful.
Yeah, or at the very least, maybe at least it could give you, I don't know, a stat boost while you're holding it,
Mm-hmm.
and they can each have a different stat boost, even if it's just one
Hmm.
notch. And if
Or
you lose the blade, you lose the
or
bonus.
even something more expended. Like maybe now you can spend luck to get an addition to your roll rather than just a dice roll chance.
Mm,
So
mm.
it's sort of it still is within the same system, but it allows you to be more assured of what you're getting. So stuff like that. There was opportunity. They failed to do that. That's kind of sad.
Okay, so strategy now.
Yeah.
My first strategy tip is remember that you can navigate the rings both ways. And I mean this on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond the fact that you can go clockwise or counterclockwise around each ring, but you can go back and forth between the outer, middle, and inner
Mm-hmm.
rings. And it seems weird, but then no, but because you're thinking you must keep progressing towards the center. But there are times that it may be strategic to return
Out.
outside for particular items, aiming for certain spaces that heal your
Yes.
character or that give more items.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to go back out.
Be aware that there is a limit of how many things you can carry,
Mm, mm.
so it pays attention to decide what you will get. But don't skimp on getting things if you can. It's better to spend the next few rounds with an item you'll need temporarily than throw it away for something better, than to not buy it and struggle for a few rounds to earn up for the thing you wanted. Then struggle to land on the spot to get it too.
For full craziness, though, in sort of slight counter to that, is that was this, but the game is super generous. So please be certain to read all of your character abilities and
Mhm.
even any other cards you pick up along the way. Those limits on followers vary based on the character you have.
Mhm.
Some companions allow you to get more companions, and it's just crazy. And then suddenly you are theoretically walking around with a small parade of characters who are helping you fight, and
Mhm.
that's like that's the Kingdom Hearts nature of it, I guess, that you
So
can really gather
Jay
things.
shares he wasn't a fan of the Trinity moves himself. I was a fan of the moves
I
in
like
the video
finding
game.
them.
In the game, I was fun. Okay, but he also shares that if we base this on Kingdom Hearts One lore, the different keyblades are actually keychains, which change the appearance and give a passive ability like a combo boost, magic boost,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Rocky's idea of having temporary stat boost is actually a nice touch and a missed opportunity.
Right. That's like I just wanted that. I think that's like the bare minimum. Add a plus one to something.
I would have gone for crazy stuff like the If it's not based on the locations, it could be based on the real world.
Mm.
Sort of like you maybe if you have this one, if you're playing between the hours of 7 and 9, whether that's morning or evening, you have a bonus.
Mm.
Or maybe this one, if you're playing and someone has a drink on the table, you have a free reroll. That sort of crazy stuff. Only because it's about connecting different worlds and stuff. Uh,
Um, encounter cards are like wild. It's a wild mix of encounter
yeah, it's
cards.
random draw.
But at the same time, though they're not always bad.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't always be afraid of encounters. It's the only way the game progresses, so just go for it. So as much as you don't want to encounter dark side heartless, but you still gotta go for it because you won't find Perdita and Pongo
Mm-hmm.
until you go through your encounter deck. So take the time to do so. Plus, it's the main fun in the game. If you can't embrace it and you're gonna try to keep hiding in the outer ring and avoiding spots that make you draw cards,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get stuck. The game's not gonna be fun.
And then I guess the wheel is fabulous. It's fun, but it's too tiny. I don't understand why they think that cover the whole camera. Maybe they'll make it zoom in.
Nope.
Nope, it's not working.
But you see how relatively small the number is, even inside
Mm-hmm.
the bracketed
You can
space.
see an icon here, and the icon is like twice the size of those numbers. And that is horrible, 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 horrible design. I don't know why.
Oh, I will stress one. Well, I will cite one fun little thing though is that in the original Talisman, one of the most annoying things that could happen to you is that you get turned into a frog.
Mhm.
Okay.
When you're
In
cursed into a frog, you move one step every turn until you can find yourself relieved of the curse.
Yeah. So in this game, they have character cards for Heartless because you can, instead of being turned into a frog, you get turned into a basic
Which
Heartless.
does happen in the video game.
Yep. So
That's
now
perfect.
you're a Heartless for exactly 3 turns. You
Mhm.
leave all your items, your money, and your magic on the space where you were turned into a Heartless. And then while you're a Heartless, your stats are one. So it's like so painful. And um but yeah, when you return to normal, your character will be as before you turn to a Heartless. But it's just it it was annoying in Talisman. Here it was kind of funny, and the game will not go by where someone gets without someone getting turned into a Heartless,
Mhm.
and you just hop one space at a time. You'll get your items back. Don't worry. It's bound to happen. Okay. Um, Beyond that, though, I mean, obviously, a large part of the game is luck, but it needs a lot of patience. You can super load up
Mhm.
on gear and the like, and min max optimize what you have.
The game is about min maxing.
Yeah.
It's the
It's a
point of the
total
game.
min max experience, and
Mhm.
but the trade off for this at least is that it is in a universe that you may already be familiar with because of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, and
Mhm.
that's where the love of the game is. Where Talisman was okay because you were exploring a theoretical fantasy world,
Mhm.
um, but then this one is like, oh, you're going through the Kingdom Hearts reality and you're crossing between dimensions, which is totally in theme for Kingdom Hearts. And in that sense, the Talisman tie up kind of made sense in the end. And I super appreciate this game for that. It's definitely not the best game out there. It's not the richest strategic experience or anything like that, but it makes for a good afternoon. It is a little lengthy at first, and I don't think you're going to be able to trim the time down below 60 minutes. But it's not too bad. It's not too bad. And all of our other concerns about space and fiddliness, whatever, your trade-off is that you have beautiful cards to look at, beautiful standees that you want to take pictures of in between turns, and all these things. So
Okay,
yeah.
I'm now puzzled because the Board Game Geek site states so there's 102 adventure cards,
Hmm.
30 pairs of adventure card tokens,
Hmm.
22 spell cards,
Yes.
6 stat boards with health, strength, and magic tiles,
Okay.
36 fate tokens,
Yes.
28 purchase cards,
Yes.
4 Keyblade cards.
Oh, this one says 6 in the manual. Okay, go on.
The Keyblades,
Yeah.
probably it was increased to 6, but this one states 4. 11 character cards,
Mm-hmm.
11 plastic figurines,
Mm-hmm.
4 heartless character cards,
Mm-hmm.
30 money,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 six-sided dice.
The manual also updates the six-sided dice.
So I wonder if these are like boosts that happen later on.
Yeah.
But the distributor listing does not match what you get.
Jay was asking, wonder how Talisman gets incorporated in the overall Kingdom Hearts lore. Hey, it's not a bad question. I mean, all worlds are possible. We're all just little islands in space.
I'm just waiting for the next Kingdom Hearts to have like Marvel and Star Wars and
Mm,
because
Disney
it's
is
all
all.
Disney now.
But man, it is just still super funny that so we get a lot of the core cast and Mulan. 'Cause she's the only other Disney character outside of the core group of Donald, Goofy, and Mickey. And then suddenly Mulan. And I don't know why. Was this? I
Representation.
guess it was just an effort. Yeah, maybe representation, whether as Asian or as female. Um, but we just suddenly get Mulan out of nowhere, and then random characters from the other expansions.
Hmm.
It's still a good mix. It's still a pretty good mix. And then all the other summons and stuff, of course, had to stay as cards
Mm.
because they help with the game.
So obviously, when we played this, we played the soundtrack.
Yes,
It was very fun to play the soundtrack,
played it on loop.
but know that it's a long game. So we had to supplement the soundtrack with the movie scores of all the Disney movies we could. Still didn't seem like enough.
Just loop, just loop whatever you want. But it can get a little tiring that you're always in battle music and stuff. But that's your game. Okay,
Jay mentioned she might be easier to license. That's
maybe.
quite likely.
But then if we were talking about easy to license, then you go to for older characters.
Or maybe it's the break into the China market.
Or it's because okay, of all the Disney characters that may have been featured in the game, she is a fighter.
That makes sense.
I mean, like apart from the modern princesses, like the Rapunzel that we get now, who would at least have a frying pan. Um, your classic Disney princesses were not necessarily best known for fighters, and they are featured on one of the cards doing a princess wish
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So, yeah, we ended up with this because we needed fighting characters because all characters have a fight stat. Um, yeah. Okay. All right. So that's Talisman Kingdom Hearts. We're gonna have to take the time to put everything back later on, but that's okay. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we hope you enjoy this little review, overview, whatever these Baduy Pride board game episodes are.
Our other episode this week will most likely be on Thursday instead of Friday. We might have plans on Friday instead.
We don't know yet, but we're trying to make plans for Friday
Yeah.
because wow, we can make plans on a Friday again.
But this Thursday, we're talking about the multiverse and the metaverse ideas because the metaverse is such a buzzword now that everyone's abusing. The multiverse is such a concept everyone is using, but we remember earlier multiverses, and we'll talk all about that on Thursday.
And obviously it's still themed because Toby wanted to connect it to Kingdom Hearts somehow. And Kingdom Hearts is a multiverse game when you think
Konami
about
World
it.
did it first.
Here we go again with Konami World. Okay. Um and Jay says if we play this together, you'll take care of the background music. It's not if. We will play. Don't worry. We will definitely play. We'll just have to figure out when. But yeah, okay, we trust you for the music.
Konami World did the game first,
Save it for
but
Thursday.
Nintendo Power did it on TV first.
Not Nintendo Power. Captain
Captain N.
N.
Okay, we'll see you on Thursday. But tonight, thank you so much for joining us in this episode, and we hope you'll see us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can fill out the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. You can also follow us on Twitter, all Toby No Shade, RJ Suniko.
You can also check out our blog, baduypray.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and let us know what you thought about Talisman Kingdom Hearts. Are you just going to get it because it says Kingdom Hearts? Or, oh my gosh, are you a diehard Talisman fan and this is just gravy on top for you? Let us know below. And be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy
Baduy
Pride. Good night, everyone.
Try not to